Forbes India and ServiceNow present the COO Collective.
Welcome back to the COO Collective Curtain Raiser episode where we are talking about the business of experience. Let's dive right back in. All right, Sanjeev, let's bring it together to talk about BX techniques.
Right.
What would you like to share on this regard?
Yeah. See, Gautam, just a few things. I think couple of things that we've got to be careful about in terms of creating the right BX. One is, as we spoke, it's about obsession for the customer. The other one is, I think, investment into creating the right innovation for experience of the customers. In fact, if you just look at how we get served today, right? I mean, how we get served from Kirana supplies perspective, or how we book a cab today and how we make payments today, it's very different from what we did, just 5 and 10 years back. So there has to be a constant innovation to create the right kind of customer experience. So the whole innovation piece is very important. And the third one I would say is aligning goals of employees and people to the right outcomes. That's very important, because culturally, if people are not aligned to the end outcome of creating the right experience of the customer, right? If that mindset and culture is not there, you can do whatever, you will not get the right result. And I mean, I was, to prepare for this session, I was reading a book yesterday, and I came across an example which resonated with me very well. Ritz-Carlton hotel chain, they have a policy, any employee is completely empowered to solve a problem for a customer by taking any decision they want. They need no approvals. It does not matter what they decide to resolve, the issue that their customer might be facing. So, I mean, you've aligned the employees so very well with the end outcome that the whole organization gets aligned. So I don't know if every organization can go to that an extent, but the whole people alignment to the outcome is a very important aspect.
Growth. On that note, let's get the last rounds of advice from all of you, for all those viewers who are watching, on how organizations can successfully rethink business and operational models. When we talk about BX, how can they go about it? Words of advice. Nanda, we'll start with you.
Customer obsessiveness, obviously, that has to be number one as to how do we build in. We may be talking about it. Most of the time it kind of stays in the boardroom or a couple of levels below. But if you have to really transcend into at all levels, it is very, very important as to how do you go about doing it. So that will be number one. Number two in my list will be is, while we talk about this, how do you measure it in certain way and kind of put accountability that it is actually happening. So that will be number two in my list as to how do we go about doing it. And while saying all of this, we also have to internally bring in the right set of technologies and training to the people so they can do the above too. Because without those investments coming in, it will just remain as a talk.
They're all parts of an
Yes.
equation. All right. Sumit, your thoughts, rethinking business to enable sustained growth. Your words of advice.
Absolutely. So I've got a couple as well. So the first one is, now I'll start with an example, right? If you're in a restaurant business, it's not just the waiter who's serving, who's providing that customer experience. It's the chef at the kitchen. His work is impacting the customer experience. It's the operations guy who bought the vegetables and the quality of those vegetables in the morning. That's going to impact the customer experience, right? So in an organization, identifying the business processes end to end that impacts the customer and ensuring you digitize them and you have a way to measure them, right? That's number one, right? The number two would be what I call it innovation through collaboration. Because organizations have become so complicated, they're not going to their customers all by themselves. They're going it through partners, third parties, suppliers, etc., right? You need to provide a platform where all of them are connected together so they can innovate through collaboration to bring more value to the customer. So innovation through collaboration would be my second one. And my third one would be, while we have talked a lot about experience, I want to put an adjective on top of it that says frictionless experience. You can provide an experience, but it needs to be frictionless. There are 2 points that come to mind to me on that one. One is providing more and more self-service to the customer so that I can solve my own problems without calling you or writing an email to you. And the second one would be around ensuring that what we call, digitizing the process so that it is not only self-service, but it is able to detect customer problems much in advance before the customer calls in, right? And we have technology now available where if you implement it properly, you can do this proactive checks on the customer problems that will impact your net promoter score in the future.
That's the magic of customer experience, right? As they say, any advanced science is indistinguishable from magic. And when that customer has that experience that, oh, this enterprise knows me better than myself and has anticipated my needs, there is going to be the possibility of a longer.
3 suggestions. I'm going back to the original point, which is keep customer at the center and not your product or service. Just to take an example, right? I'm just going back to Kirana supply, into our homes. Everyone supplies exactly the same thing, but you still prefer one vendor versus the other because the overall experience someone is able to provide, whether that is through the speed of delivery or the experience you have on the app or whatever, that could be different. So keep customer at the center. That is rule number 1. The second one, not easy. It's not sufficient to have a good intent. Everyone has a good intent, right? It is all about how you are able to convert that good intent into solid operational excellence, right? We talked about people, process, culture, technology, and so on, or the 4M methodology that we follow. That is the toughest part, and the teams have to really spend a disproportionate amount of time to get the whole logistics and the whole process right. And the third one, very simple, it's very subtle. You have to treat your employees as if they are your customers. At the end of the day, you cannot have an unhappy employee serving the customer well. So if we take care of these 3 things, I think we are in a good spot.
A happy customer is a happy enterprise, as we said. And of course, welcome to the era of BX, where the possibilities are immense, as it has been outlined by our panelists, and the impact is on people, technology, process, and more importantly, culture. Well, on that note, it's time to conclude this curtain raiser episode of the COO Collective. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing with us your insights and experiences and lessons on the business of experience. And of course, thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Till next time, this is your host Gautam Srinivasan signing off. Have a great day.
Forbes India and ServiceNow present the COO Collective.
Focus.